weekly DeAndre Hopkins update.
D-Hop is an elite guy.
You and I, we want to go with DeAndre Hopkins right away.
It makes sense to go get D-Hop.
We lost Juju. We lost Hardman. Those are veteran guys.
Yeah.
Bring him in. D-Hop. The Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock. They trade their 4th round pick for DeAndre Hopkins. Could you imagine the pandemonium going on in there?
D-Hop. That's what I would want. Shoot. I'm like, hey, D-Hop. Before you even name anybody else, D-Hop.
So this week, we've heard that the Cardinals are finally allowing DeAndre Hopkins to talk to teams. While the Bills have been a team to watch for DeAndre Hopkins, Bills beat reporter Sal Cappuccio, I believe that's how you say his name, said he heard that the Bills feel really good about what they have already added in the wide receiver room. But he also heard at the owners' meetings, this is where it gets interesting. He heard at the owners' meetings that the team to watch for the DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes is none other than the Kansas City Chiefs. A guy that we've been saying this for weeks, I think about over a month now. But it seems that based on all the reports, the only other team to really watch this whole DeAndre Hopkins sweepstakes is New England. So now it's kind of narrowed down. It was like, you had some saying the Bills, some saying the Ravens, obviously Browns, Patriots, Chiefs. But now it just seems like it's a two-horse race at this point. So JD, what do you make of these new reports now that it is like a two-horse race between the Chiefs and the New England Patriots for DeAndre Hopkins services?
I've seen a video when they were showing, I guess, DeAndre Hopkins and Bill Belichick, just kind of, congratulating each other on each other, just saying like, hey, man, I appreciate what you do and what you bring to the game. But we've been saying this. We've been saying this for the past few weeks. We believe that Kansas City has a shot. And the reality is, man, we don't know how these things can happen. There's a lot of things that's going on behind closed doors that we're just not privy to, right? We don't, it'll change every single day. Hey, what if we do it this way? Hey, what if we do it like this? Hey, what if we, try to sign a guy to a lesser deal or something like that, or just try to, defer some of his payments later on in the future? Like, how can we work to get this thing going? And so these things are going on, seriously every single day in negotiating, with the Chiefs and I'm sure Arizona. I just, I know they said the Bills. I didn't really get that one. I didn't quite understand that. They had Diggs, they had Davis. So you going to get DeAndre Hopkins? Is that what's going to, get y'all further? Y'all went and got a defense. Y'all started getting guys and, didn't have quite work out for y'all. So, that I could see maybe if Bill does it up there, that might be a shot in the dark because they don't have Jacoby Myers. They need a guy. But to be honest with you, if I was DeAndre Hopkins, it would be one of the last places I want to go. I'm like, oh man, these guys ain't ready. They're not ready. They're not ready to be a world champion right now. There is a lot of rebuilding that they're doing, trying to put things together. And so they lost some pieces, obviously. Is DeAndre Hopkins going to put him over the hump to get to the Super Bowl? I don't think so. And so I think it's something that they had to explore about that, especially the guy who's older, right? I mean, you got Mac Jones. Mac Jones is not the caliber of Patrick Mahomes. So let's just be realistic about it. So if I was, his agent, I'm like, I don't know, right? With the Cardinals. But it's all about who's going to make the deal. But like I said, to me, the Chiefs seem a more a better fit, to have a guy like his ability to come out here when they're in Kansas City. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and the one thing that's really interesting is I know everyone's saying it's the Patriots, and the Patriots they're because they have a lot of money left still to spend, so that's why I think people keep saying their name there. But they're also being thrown around there in the whole Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. They have a lot of money. If they do want to get Lamar Jackson, realistically, that's what they're saying. I think Meek Mill had talked to Robert Kraft about trying to get a Lamar over there. And I think Kraft said it's all up to Bill if they want to do that. But if that is realistic, then they need the money for that as far as the guaranteed money, whatever Lamar wants, you're going to have the capital for that to be able to pay him. So like that could kind of throw a little wrench in that whole DeAndre Hopkins thing. But then also, what I wanted to ask you is, so they're allowing him to speak to teams. DeAndre Hopkins can speak, up front with the Chiefs now. What can that do? Because I know that the common thing I'm seeing from all these fans who really don't want us to get DeAndre Hopkins, it seems like they're just saying it's kind of just far fetched for us to go get him because we don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
We have about $5 million. I think I read earlier we have about $5 million to spend. And I think over the next 2 years he makes about 34 million.
Yeah.
So like, how would conversations go as far as player team to kind of make that work? Is that something that we talk to you? Hey, DeAndre, we want you on the team, but how can we really make this work? Is there any way we can kind of like pretty much work out a deal with DeAndre so when we do make that trade, we can kind of like right away, hey, like restructure the contract and move that money around? Is that something that can be done with the conversation with DeAndre, or does that have to be? Does Arizona have to be involved with that aspect?
No, I think it is something that can be done. Obviously, with the Chiefs want to have, Arizona possibly pay for some of this contract, right? That he's going to get paid. So they're like, look, if they could take off some of, maybe some of the pressure from, the money wise, contract wise, then that'd be a better deal for the Chiefs. But if DeAndre gets over, and it's like at any time, once you get a guy on your squad, once you sign him, then it's like you could restructure a deal at that point. You know what I'm saying? You could do it pretty much at any time that you want once you have him. So I don't think that you're confined to just that by saying if you get DeAndre Hopkins over here, you got traded for, I don't know, let's say a 5th round pick. Okay. Gets a 5th round pick. That's the compensation. He comes over to the Chiefs. Chiefs pick up the contract. Let's say Arizona's like, okay, y'all picking up his contract. They can make that contract work the way they want it to work, during that time. They can. Now, they can't go in there and try to pay him less. I don't think he's going to do that, right? He's just like, well, shoot, I'm just not going to play. Y'all bought a guy, and I'm not going to play for less money unless y'all make it sweet for me. Later on down the road, like I said, deferring money or maybe some type of promises. That's a possibility, and that's something I guess with the obviously his agent and DeAndre talking, the Chiefs talking. How can they really structure some things out to make something like that happen? So, yeah, that's why I think, to be honest with you, when people are saying this, there's so many avenues to make this thing work. It really is, okay? Because there's guys like with $5 million cap, the money's going up every single year, okay? There's guys that can still be traded or something happens during the draft. So when I see things as far as like contract wise, what I'm seeing in the building and what I'm hearing about, look, there could be some really tough decisions going on in the future or during the draft, man, that people may not like or say, well, why did you do this to get a guy like that here? The question is, here's the real question. DeAndre Hopkins, can he help you win a Super Bowl? Absolutely. Absolutely. Is he worth it? Being at 30, 31 years old, I think so. Absolutely. I think he's still playing at a high level. To me, what a guy can do is still have that ability and making top of the dollar money and stuff for 2 years, yeah, that could be done. Now, I will say this, okay, we was kind of talking about the up here with Belichick with the Patriots. Bill don't like paying anybody either. Suckers is tight. Okay, we talk about Veach is tight, but them suckers up there in New England, them suckers is frog tight. Butthole booty. I'm sorry. It's all, with I don't kids there, but tight, man. They sphincters are pretty tight on the money. Okay. All right. Been a part of that. I've seen that before. So that's negotiation tactics up there as well. But you talking about Lamar Jackson get up there and say, hey, that's something that I had to see to believe it. Put it that way. It could happen. It's a possibility, man. But I want DeAndre Hopkins here. I think we can make it work. I think he's worth it. We're talking about, like I said, legacy. We're talking about going in and putting in and making a dynasty. That's a guy that can definitely do it.
Yeah, I think we're one of the few teams actually that you add DeAndre Hopkins to, and you automatically become okay. This team you'll probably see them in the AFC Championship game. You'll see that potentially say that about us anyways, but it could almost be like, you know what, he stays healthy. that almost kind of it guarantees a lock that the Chiefs will be in the AFC Championship game again. To have to throw him in the mix with what we already have.
Listen, let me say this, okay? Because I think we have these conversations, because we talked about this before, and we talked about where, well, look, we like the guys in the room, and we do. We like the guys in the room. We have a talented young group of guys, okay? Obviously, Ross is a guy that we're still waiting to see what we're going to be able to get out of him. We got John Ross, young guy that's got a lot of ability, can do a lot of different things, especially in this offense. But we had to think about, as far as, do we have enough of that veteran presence, to kind of take it over the top? Do we want to continue to do this with the difficulty year in and year out? When we know, we sit there and watch Cincinnati is keeping Higgins and all those guys. They're going to try to keep all those guys together. Okay. Bills are still, going to be the Bills. Okay. All right. We don't know where Lamar is going in this whole scheme of things, but we know Jacksonville's another team that's up and coming, right? So there's teams in the AFC that's always year in and year out is going to be in contention. It's going to be one of the top teams in the NFL every single year. Do we want to put ourselves in a position where it's almost like we're stagnant in certain positions? Do we want to do that? When we're watching other teams kind of, just making incremental, positive moves in the right directions just to put them over the hump. So I know we won a Super Bowl last year. The year before, it was Cincinnati was in there.
Yeah. Right?
So we could keep using this formula. I think, we was talking, my man, I think Carter, man, is on Twitter. I like a lot of his takes, kind of talking a little bit about, sometimes it's Veach MO, not to sign some of the guys that he's drafted, or dudes that's doing one-year deals. Sometimes you gotta make a different move, right? Just out of the ordinary, where you're not so predictable. Like, look, you know what? This is something that we need. This is something that we need to go ahead and do. And newsflash, here's reality. We don't know how long Andy's going to be coaching. We don't know.
Good point.
So if Andy's going to be here another 2 years, I'm thinking it's going to be another 2 years, why not get him some more toys that he can mess with while he's here, right? For at least the 2 years. So, I've been just thinking different things in my head, man. And I think we need to understand, like, look, there's some moves that can be made that I really believe will put Chiefs in a better position, staying on top, but still getting top calendar guys here, right? To go ahead and win a Super Bowl for these next 2 years. So D-Hop does it for us.
Yeah, I also say this too, just looking at the history of Andy Reid. I mean, look at his Eagles days. I mean, he made the most with guys, and I'm not taking it away from Greg Lewis, Top Hinkston, Freddie Mitchell, Fred X. Those are guys who they weren't top flight guys in the league. They were solid guys. I think our receiving room is a solid receiving room.
Absolutely.
And what happened with that Eagles team? They went out and got T.O. and they took him to the next level, right?
Right.
If you look at Andy Reid, I was my brother and I were talking about this. If we got D-Hop, I think D-Hop would be a top 5 receiver that Andy Reid's ever coached on the team. As far as if you look at his history, we looked at it was T.O., Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson would definitely be on that list. I mean, I know people want to say Deshaun because people remember Deshaun Jackson in the last 2 years, but
at that time, Deshaun Jackson, no doubt about it. Yes.
And I think D-Hop would go in that, because I think he'd be before Sammy Watkins. I think he'd be before Jeremy Maclin. But yeah, I think D-Hop would be with top 5 receiver that Andy Reid's ever had the pleasure of coaching if we were to get him. So like you talk about legacy, the dynasty aspect. You talk about how many more years does Andy Reid have left. This would help to add to the next 2 years. This definitely give us a better chance, a more a fighter's chance to make that happen, to win the final 2 years, if this is the last 2 years of Andy Reid's career. I mean, it would definitely help.
Without a doubt. I mean, you got to be able to make that argument. and really think about it like, okay, because it is in the NFL, it's a window on certain things that you possibly do. Super Bowl is one of the hardest things to get to, let alone win, right? And so if you have it within your grasp, well, it was difficult last time. Well, we can do it again while it's difficult. Well, why do that? Let's make it a little bit easier, okay? Let's make it a little, look, Travis is spectacular, okay? We know Patrick Mahomes is phenomenal, all right? The young receiver core are a great group of guys, great receivers. We know this, okay? We got a good running back in the room. Why not go ahead and say, okay, instead of Patrick Mahomes running around, because we still got to figure out the tackle position, okay? We still need one more. How about we just we take a little load off of Patrick, take a little bit of load off of Kelce. So when we do need him, possibly, okay, in the playoffs, we get a guy like D-Hop here. I even say OBJ, if he stays healthy and all that, right? But we talking D-Hop now. D-Hop conversation. We're going to deal with this. I would say D-Hop would be the one that you sit there and say, he can make it a lot easier for everybody on the whole offense. Running back, lineman, quarterback, tight ends, other receivers. I mean, he propels us to a whole different level, getting his talent like that here. Bottom line, period. Seriously, so for the life of me, I get that. Look, great group of guys. We know this. But if we sitting over here saying we're going to take and be one of the most productive, one of the best wide receiver groups in the NFL right now, you go get a guy like D-Hop. Go get him, okay? And find a way. If you don't, then fine. We'll go with the guys that we got, okay? We'll keep rolling with them, all right? And we'll just keep handling business. I'm just saying, shoot, why not handle business a little bit easier? It's not about working hard. It's about working smarter, right? It's the whole thing. Oh, now you don't want to work as hard. Work smarter. Work smarter.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. I do want to ask you this. So the owners' meetings, that's why there's a million reporters there, because there's so much stuff that goes on there. And the fact that that's the word from a Buffalo Bills reporter that he's saying that's the word out there is that the DeAndre Hopkins is the Chiefs are a team to watch DeAndre Hopkins. We heard this weeks ago during the draft. That was the thing that was being talked about. And then you see receivers that are still in the market, left and right being snatched. I think Marvin Jones got signed. A few other guys, solid veteran guys have been signed. Guys who would have been signed under that, the Veach special, the 1 year, $3 million deal. Guys that we would have signed, right, if we were going to fix that receiver position. And I think I read an article the other day, like, it's clear. I think it was Nate Taylor from The Athletic. He was talking about how, because his whole article was saying that we're probably out of the DeAndre Hopkins thing, which, it's been every report contradicts itself. But in that, it was like, well, they're still interested in OBJ, but either way, they're content with the receivers they have in the room. Okay. You're content with the receivers you have in the room. You just want a Super Bowl with those guys. But then on top of that, you're also still saying you're interested in OBJ. So obviously there are upgrades that you want to make. And the fact that our name keeps coming up, does that, I mean, is there smoke there? I mean, do you think that it's not just that BS is being made up, that we are actually a team that is interested? Because there's been so many contradicting reports in this whole DeAndre Hopkins thing.
Dude, I think there's still interest. I think there's interest in probably all these guys, right? You start looking at guys that are still out here for agents. So D-Hop, no doubt about it. OBJ. I think somebody brought up, and I thought about this guy too, Jarvis Landry. He's a guy that could come in, catch, a few balls, be like a Juju type of guy, right? We know he could catch. He could play some ball. So it's not going to be a whole lot of money. It's going to cost you a lot of money. But he's a veteran guy. It's a veteran presence. And I heard he's a tremendous locker room guy. So it's just so many reports out. I think everybody wants to get on this thing, get ahead of it as much as possible. Everybody's just putting these little fillers out. And guess what? They are being tight-lipped. They ain't letting anybody know, right? They're not. And so some of these things that we do here, because I hear a lot, from here and there sources. Only thing that matters is what's going on in that room. That's what's going to boil down to. When it comes to that draft time and seeing how everything is going to work out, it's going to play out, then we'll know. Then we'll know. Okay. But the people are waiting on a few moves here and there to make a deal as far as like trying to make this thing happen. And they being tight-lipped about it, right? Everybody gonna be tongue in cheek. I don't know what's going on. Oh, well, I don't deal with this, right? Robert Kraft. Well, I don't make a decision. Really? Robert? You don't make that decision? You gonna try to tell me you can't make a call, tell Bill Belichick, no, we want D-Hop here. Okay? As owner, you best have some demands because you ain't making a decision about who you get on your squad and your team. Shoot. I don't know what to tell you.
The infamous story was that Belichick wanted Jimmy G to be the heir apparent to Tom Brady. Tom Brady went to Kraft, and Kraft was like, "Nah, Jimmy G's out of here." That was the alleged story that came out of it. So Kraft does have is a decision maker in that place. The fact that he was able to ship out Jimmy G because Brady went to him. So
yeah.
But yeah.
So he's looking at who are you again? Oh, Tom Brady. Okay, listen, that's not what we're gonna do. I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so go back to where you came from. Okay, you keep throwing those balls for me. I'm writing these checks. You keep playing. Okay? I'll handle this.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I love that you brought up Juju. Juju's an interesting one. Because let's say, I mean, I'm not saying taking away from Marvin Jones or any of the guys who've been signed, but like there's more at this point in their careers, marginal difference between Juju and Marvin Jones. They also have they do different things, right?
Yeah.
Juju would be a great, not Juju, sorry, Jarvis Landry would be a great,
right.
Would be a great fill-in for the Juju role. And also Jarvis and OBJ, very close friends, play college with each other. Because that could be something too, I don't think Jarvis is going to break the bank, and then you could bring an OBJ, and then you have your receiver room is set at that point, and you wouldn't need to do anything else. So it's gonna be interesting. Like you said, we're gonna see a lot. We're gonna be able to tell a lot over the next few weeks. If there's no other movement going on, this whole D-Hop thing, and then you got the draft, and then if we don't really draft a receiver in the first few rounds, then it could be okay. We are making a move. We just wanted to wait and see how the draft board fell to us, and
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I guarantee they was out there, man, in the owners meeting today. All these jokers and coaches, everybody sitting there talking, like, man, what do y'all think about doing? What are y'all looking at? So, yeah, that's everybody knows what's going on out that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait for it. And I know everyone's really keen on the whole youth movement thing, but as we talked about, we have a lot. The youth movement's in the building already. The guys are there. You talk about Justyn Ross, and everyone's excited about Justyn Ross. Justyn Ross is healthy. Justyn Ross would have been a top 2-round pick last year, top 3-round pick last year.
Yeah.
And we were able to get him as an undrafted guy, and we were able to get Trey Smith, who was also a guy, who we got him late because of the whole injury red flag. And we ended up, that panned out well. So we have a good history, a good track record of getting the guys with the red flags and, with the injury red flag and, being able to do something with them. So,
yeah. No, it's true. That would be a wonder. That'd be a pleasant surprise. See him come out, man, and just blow it out the water this year. It really would. I'd love to see that.
And just a great story too for him to bounce back from something that what he did bounce back from. So
yeah.
Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.